Hello, my sweet love. Today, I want to dive into a conversation that most of you probably have a very basic understanding of, if not deeper, but I feel like this is a really important conversation to have. And so, we're going to be talking about the masculine and the feminine and finding that balance and maybe even beginning to decondition from masculine because we live in a society that is very patriarchal. It's very set up for a man's world. And as women, we are making huge leaps and bounds and changes. But the reality is, we still live in this masculine world. And so, obviously, we are all conditioned to some degree or another into this masculine energy. And I want to be very, very clear that when I use the terms masculine and feminine, I am not referring to gender or sex. This is just energy. You can think about this about yin and yang if that is easier for you. But I don't want us to identify male and female, boy and girl when we're talking about the masculine and feminine. And my goal with this conversation is to just bring some more awareness to this, maybe get your brain flowing, those juices flowing to see where you're living more in your masculine and where you're living more in your feminine and how you can bring a balance to that. Because neither one of these, masculine nor feminine, are better than the other. They're not positive or negative, they're not good or bad. They just simply are. And when we live in harmony and balance with these two energies, it is very, very beautiful. But if we lean too far into one of these, it can create an imbalance, which can lead to symptoms like burnout, feeling disconnected, having anxiety, feeling bitter or resentful. And we don't want to live like that. Those are not the emotions that we want to be feeling every day. And so let's talk about it. So, we're going to start the conversation just by defining masculine and feminine, giving you some kind of keywords, if you will, for the energies. So, for the masculine, this is very much the structure and stability, being logical, being focused, and having a clear sense of direction, being able to analyze. It's leading and giving, action oriented, being disciplined and consistent, having a strong sense of independence and sovereignty, and it's also being protective and grounded. Now, the feminine is more of that flow and flexibility, being intuitive and in tune with your emotions, being able to be expansive and creative, receiving and allowing, being and embodying, living more cyclically and in rhythm with nature, being connected and having this sense of unity, and also being nurturing and expressive. And so when we look at these two, it might be a little bit more easier to see where you're living in these energies. And so let's say out of 100%, so you are 100% you, right? And within you, you have masculine and feminine energies. And the goal here is to balance these, to have a healthy dose of both. So if you look at your life as a whole, your being as a whole, what percentage of you is living in your masculine and what percentage of you is living in your feminine? And you may notice that in different areas of your life, you're leaning more into one or the other. For example, in your relationship, you might be more in your feminine, and in your career, you might be more in your masculine, or reversed. If you're a single mom, or if you've been a single mom in the past, you might have to parent more in your masculine to survive, to get by for a period of time. And so they have their purpose. And with this exercise of identifying what percent is masculine, what percent is feminine, this isn't meant to be a judgment. We're not judging ourselves. You could sit here and say, I'm 100% in my masculine, 0% in my feminine, and okay, great. We have the awareness. That is the whole purpose of this conversation today, is to just begin to have awareness. And knowing that when you're ready to start bringing about that balance, you can do that. You can shift more into your feminine, or vice versa. If you're being too far in your feminine, you can shift more into your masculine. But with the way society is set up today, most women are living in masculine conditioning. This world is set up for the patriarchy. Everyone knows this. And while we as women are making leaps and bounds to decrease that rigidity, is that a word? I believe so. It's still a very masculine environment. And again, not that we're connecting these to male and female, man or woman, but it is a very masculine environment. You go to school and you have a set schedule. There's not room for that flow. You go to work, you have a time that you clock in, a time that you clock out. That is very set, that is very structured. There's not a lot of room for flow for most careers. And so a lot of the conditioning that we can get into with this masculine over conditioning is being in that hustle culture, becoming a perfectionist, overthinking and overanalyzing everything, which just leads to anxiety. And so if you find that you have a lot of these things, the hustle culture, the perfectionism, the overthinking, the anxiety, the burnt out, the disconnection, if you have those present in your life, then let that be an awareness to you that you get to decondition, that you get to lean more into your feminine. And I also want to point out here that control, being controlling, having a sense of control is normal. It's normal to want to feel control, but it's also a trauma response that's often tied to masculine conditioning. So if you have ever labeled yourself or been called a control freak, maybe that's an invitation for you to sit and look where you're being too much in your masculine, where you can loosen the reins a bit and lean more into that surrender. And again, this is about a balance. There's no shame for feeling like you need to control. In certain situations, in certain phases of life, there will be more of a need to control. When you have young kids, you are a little bit more controlling as far as what you can play with, what you can watch, what you can see. And those things are healthy. It's good to have those boundaries for your kids. But at the same time, it's not healthy to obsess over every single aspect of your life, to try to control every situation, every outcome in your life. So again, balance. And so I want to invite you to think about this, and maybe even you journal on this right now, pausing this and journaling, or coming back tonight and journaling. But what would it feel like to soften, to surrender, to trust your feminine wisdom again? What would that feel like? What would it feel like in your body? How would your life change just by you softening 1% more, by you surrendering 1% more, by you trusting 1% more? Because as women, we've been taught to be fierce, to be independent. But it's also safe to surrender. It's safe to be held. It's safe to be supported. So many people have this belief that being soft is a weakness, but it's not. It's actually a strength. Because if we look at it in a different lens, let's use a different word here. Let's look at compassionate, right? A lot of people would say that when you're compassionate, you're more soft, you're more open. So if we substitute that word, Is being compassionate a weakness? Well, I don't think that most people would say so. I think that most people would agree that being compassionate is a strength. You're able to listen, you're able to be open minded, you're able to be empathetic, you're able to hold space, you're able to receive. But yet, when we use the term soft, it's automatically associated with weakness. Isn't that interesting? And so, this is your permission slip to be soft, to be in your feminine, because all of these get to exist together. You can be independent and be soft. You can be, action oriented and trusting your intuition. You can be protective and nurturing. All of these get to coexist within your being. And so I want to just give you a practice that you can do to start to connect more deeply with your feminine. And this is a breath and a movement practice. And you can adapt this and do it however you want. Please know that there is no right or wrong way to do this. But essentially, what you do, you can either set up, you can stand up, you can lie down in your bed, whatever feels the best for you. And you're just going to close your eyes and intentionally breathe into your womb space, breathing into your lower belly, breathing in through the nose, into your lower belly. And then you're going to exhale and you're going to make a sigh or a moan. You're just going to let your throat chakra open up and release whatever sound wants to come forward. And you're just going to do this practice for as long as you want. You can do this for a 60-second practice, a 5-minute practice, maybe an hour if that's what is feeling good to you. But by focusing on your breath, sending that breath into your womb space and exhaling with a sigh, with a moan. And once you get into a good flow of that, your ego isn't judging the sounds coming out of your mouth, then you're going to start to invite some movement in. You're going to start to circle your hips. You're going to start to open your heart and whatever that means to you. And just by doing this simple practice, you're going to be tapped in. Our feminine is linked to our sensuality. And so by allowing those sounds to come out, by allowing your hips to move, maybe you even want to take it a layer deeper. Maybe you want to run your hands over your body, through your hair, touching your skin, your legs, your belly, your breast, your neck, your hair, whatever feels good to you, because you're not going to be on display doing this. You're going to be alone in your room, in your living room, in your bathroom, wherever you are. You can do this in the shower if you have a house full of people and you're not going to have a quiet minute to do this. Do it in the shower. All you're doing is focusing on your breath, inviting some movement in, and making some noise as you exhale. And yes, for a lot of you, this is going to feel so unnatural. It's going to feel almost dirty, almost sinful in a way, because we have been conditioned to disconnect from our bodies. As women, we're not taught to really please ourselves, to honor our bodies, to tap into our sensuality, because we're taught from a very young age that if you're too sensual, then you're just sexual and you're just a whore and nobody wants to be with a woman like that and blah 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 blah, right? But this is your practice. This is you connecting with your feminine. This is you softening. This is you opening up to surrender. It's connecting back to your body. And the benefits of doing that are endless. The more you do this practice, the more you connect to your feminine, the stronger your intuition will become. And so I want to leave this at this point because I feel like this is a really good stopping place. Just to invite a reflection period, a conversation with yourself over this masculine and the feminine. Really setting down and being honest with yourself. What percent are you in your masculine? What percent are you in your feminine? What would it feel like to be more soft, to be more surrendering, more trusting? And then doing this feminine embodiment practice. It's going to be so good for you. And all of this that we're talking about right now is what we're going to be doing in our ceremony on Sunday. This Sunday, May 25th, we are gathering. We're honoring our feminine, we're deconditioning, we're allowing ourselves to open up, to become more magnetized in our feminine. And so, if you want to gather with women from across the states, if you want to be in ceremony with yourself and others and really dive deeper into this conversation, you can join me for free. It's 100% free. If you cannot make it live, because it is at 11 in the morning Eastern Time, 10 Central Time, if you can't make it live, the replay will be sent out. And that's a beautiful thing because then you get to go back and do the replay again and again for as long as you need it. You can do it once a month. You can make it your own ritual, your own ceremony. So I'll leave all of the links in the show notes to sign up. mystikamonarch.com/feminine-awakening. Click the link in the show notes. All you need is your email and your name to register, and invite your girlfriends. If you have a friend that you think would enjoy this conversation, send this podcast episode to her. Send her the link to join us for the ceremony. It is going to be such a beautiful day of connection, of reflection. We're going to be doing some breath work to really get that energy stirring and flowing, reclaiming our inner power, stepping into our feminine magnetism. So I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope to see you live on the ceremony this Sunday if you are able to make it. And I'm always here for you if you need anything. If you need guidance, if you need to be held, if you need to be witnessed, know that that is why I am here. I'm here to hold space. I'm here to hold you and honor you and allow you to soften and open up to receive the support that your soul desires. Have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.